Hi, Quasar here. We're gonna look at why Moze isn't the worst character. A lot of people seem to complain about Moze specifically for whatever reason on both survivability and damage. Now, sure, she can't like health gate abuse or whatever, which honestly, if you're doing that, you're cheap anyway. But she does get a significant amount of shield capacity and lots of shield skills as well as Vampire. So I don't think she lacks in survivability at all. But then again, I also play on 1 health Zane, where you get one shot by literally anything. So, like, the survivability you have in this game is already way too easy, I think. Like, compare this to literally any other game, say Payday 2 with one down. If you were as tanky as you are with Moze that game, in that game, you would not be complaining at all. And I just think complaining about survivability on any of the characters except for 1 health is just silly. But these are a few builds I did. When I'm playing casually and not for 1 health, I play on Moze a lot. But I have played every class. I'm just a big fan of Moze. But I decided to see if Moze really did lack in damage, as a lot of people in the community seem to say. So I did the math and I tested a few things. So this is my best guess at how the damage formula is calculated. So my apologies if it isn't completely accurate, but at least for the Tedior and the Splash, it seemed to be the damage I got. So one thing you'll notice is the base damage increase is different amongst a lot of these Moze builds. That's because the top three are Bloodletter, which is a com that gives you, well, if you get the right version, +3 in Desperate Measures, which gives you, with three out of three in this, plus the other three, gives you a whole 100% damage increase, but 50% more damage than you already had without it, which is an insane damage increase. And then you get Phalanx Doctrine boosts, which I don't think I remember to calculate, but you'll see the damage is high without even considering the boost to Phalanx Doctrine. I do have some problems with Moze. For example, the capstones, this one's good for survivability, but if you're actually getting hit that much, maybe you should think about being better. This doesn't give an insane amount of ammo regen, but I guess it's okay. And short fuse is just awful. It really is just, it doesn't give you much of a damage increase at all. But that's how Moze is able to, with these three, get to this high of base damage. And if you compare it to like really high base damages on other classes like Flak with a stack bot, or, well, Zane is crazy. Zane with a Seeing Dead com with +5 Donnybrook and Violent Momentum boosts gets this high, which is high, but he doesn't get any crit bonus or incendiary bonus or multiplicative bonus at all. He can get passives, obviously, from the com. And he gets decent fire rate. So, like, all in all, it gave him a 413. Zane has the highest base damage of any class, though. Moze does not have that bad of a base damage. So just by looking at that, you can tell that Moze isn't as bad as people think. She is kind of low with, like, you know, the Blastmaster or the Green Monster. But, oh well. The Blastmaster gives other bonuses, and so does the Green Monster. Like, the Blastmaster, how it works is the longer you go without reloading, the more damage you get, up to 100%. And assuming that it works like actually doubling your damage, that's what I did here. I don't know if it actually works like that, or if it goes how it interacts with the splash. I never tested that. But that's like the numbers I'm guessing, but it could be worse, it could be better. And you also have to consider that you can't reload for that build, and you have to choose specific guns that are both dealing splash damage and having high mag. The Blastmaster for the Tediore, I usually use the Bloodletter because I have one with good passives, these right here. But you could get a Blastmaster with the same passives, so I decided to test that out. Definitely a lower base damage, but it does get +3. It does get a +3 pull the Holy Pin, which... Where is it? Yeah, +3 pull the Holy Pin. 3 out of 3, 30% crit chance with, Tediore. So mathematically that makes the average a bit higher. And this is what we end up with. That bonus Incendiary, it seems like a little bit, but that is a lot of extra damage that you don't have to switch guns to get the right element, and it's just a nice little bit of extra damage. Now, across the board, you can see that these all get pretty damn high damage. Amara ends up really lackluster without anoints because she gets low damage, but I also don't know the formula for Spiritual Driver. I imagine that with Spiritual Driver, she'd be easily on par with Moze. Like, not even including anoints. And on par with all the other characters. Flak is another character that gets really good damage without anoints. They all really do, but Zane, he ends up, even though he has the highest base damage, because of the lack of other stuff, he ends up lacking. But all of these numbers should show you that Moze is not that bad. Of course, these are all... Moze, to get this little bit of damage, you're restricted to splash damage. And I didn't include this because I forgot to add the math here. The damage added post-crit. So it's actually a bit higher in the Incendiary bonus. But yeah. And then next thing to consider is anoints. Now, you can see they all get decent damage without anoints. But how the anoints work. I tested this splash damage seems to actually give you 160% more damage, maybe because she doesn't get any splash damage boosts. I don't know if, but I also don't know if the 300% damage is applied multiplicatively like that. So I don't know about Amara in general. She's the least trustworthy because I don't have the numbers on Spiritual Driver. I could test the Phase Slam. I just don't. It's hard to test Spiritual Driver because to get the what is it called? Mindfulness stacks up. You end up doing. You have to anoint yourself, and you end up having to have the on-action skill and things, and all those numbers get in your way. So it's really hard to check. But with anoints, like 486 without, 1263 as the main damage with anoints, you can see that anoints are pretty darn essential. Like, they give you a lot more damage, practically tripling your damage, except for Zane. I mean, his Cryo Sentinel anoint is great, and he ends up with enough damage. Trust me, I've played every class, and Zane gets plenty of damage, but by sheer numbers, with, the high roll gear and stuff, Zane ends up at the bottom. What I think they should do to fix this is maybe give some during action skill 50% elemental damage or something anoints that Zane could use, because this 25% grenade throw, it's multiplicative towards this too, but 25% versus 50% bonus, or a 100% bonus in a way, really makes a difference. Another thing you can notice with people complaining about how you have to have, splash damage on Moze. Look at this versus Flak with crits. It's not that different. It's fairly close to Flak with crits. So, really with guns, Moze is pretty universal in power. And that's not even taking into account the fact that she has some for the road to spam rocket launchers. Or, bottomless mags in general for the infinite ammo builds. And also not taking into account, say, using incendiary weapons to get that Stoke the Embers bonus. So all in all, there is really nothing wrong with Moze, and I think people are just judging her too harshly. Maybe if they actually, made smart builds and played right, they can understand that Moze, both on paper and in practice, gets very easily enough damage compared to other Vault Hunters. Last thing I wanted to say before I go is that this weekend I'm going to make a Geometry Dash video, so for those of you who are here for Geometry Dash, sorry I haven't been uploading lately, but yeah, I'll make a Geometry Dash video. See ya.